We'll start with the minutes from the previous meeting. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review those, and I'll entertain a motion on that if there is one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the meetings of the April 21st Drainage Board meeting as presented.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'll abstain, I guess.
I'll abstain as well. I wasn't here. So, the motion passes to approve the minutes. I don't know if we have a quick CFPS or anything to go over before we start the hearing.
Sure. So the first one is on the Carter 88. Looks like they're rebuilding a barn about 50 feet from the tile.
I think this is the one we talked about, Jenny, I think.
Yeah, that is the one that you verbally approved on May 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, it's just replacing a building right back where it was, so, I mean, there's no known issues with that, so. Any motion?
I move we approve that as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the CFPS for the Carter O as presented to replace the building back where it was. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, well, the second one is on the Smith SB. It is also a barn, but I think this is a new barn.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were handing me something.
It was.
So it's on 300 north, north of town, east of 205, and they're building the barn. What was the distance? 40 feet from the tile.
Max, any issue, any
Nope, it's,
comment?
no, it'll be fine.
Okay.
They understand if we ever have to do anything, it'll be dirt thrown close to the barn or whatever.
Okay. All right.
I move that we go ahead and approve the consent for permanent structures on the 653-00B Smith SB drain.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the CFPS for the Smith SB drain. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Still got a couple minutes. Anything else? Too efficient. Too fast. Max, you got anything to fill a couple minutes, or you want to wait?
Probably nothing that's gonna just take a couple minutes, so.
All right.
We'll wait it.
I guess I can bring up something that's not on the agenda, but something on, this is kind of a heads up that I'm looking into, just kind of gauge the board's feelings. So Elkhart County, they went away with watershed-based drain assessments, and they just have a cume drain fund. So what that means is all of our assessments would go away, and it would be similar to our cume bridge fund. We would apply a tax based on assessed value to every property in the county, and that would be our drain money. It's maxed out at basically 5%, or no, 0.5% of assessed value. And that's kind of what our cume bridge is at now, even though that goes up to it goes up to $10 for every 100, whereas this is $5 for every 100. I might have it wrong, but it brings in roughly $1.3 to $1.6 million a year for cume bridge. So that is what we would bring in with this. That is kind of where we are at now with our assessments. But it would be able to use for the whole county. The main advantage of this is that the money is just there for us to use for projects right away. We don't have to build up money for 5 years, go in the red, all that stuff. The money is just there, and we can use it. Disadvantages, we have to argue the point of, yes, you're paying money for a drain that's not necessarily benefiting you right now. In the future, if your drain needs fixed, you'll have this money to fix the drain. I have not had a chance to do a full analysis of how it would affect the property owners. That is what would be my next step, but since tax time was the last couple of weeks, I didn't want to bug other people with a data request, so.
Okay.
But just want to gauge everybody's kind of initial thoughts. It would still be a lot of work. We would probably need to do several public meetings about it, both here and probably at the commissioner meeting, since it would be an ordinance, I believe, passed by the commissioners. Another thing is county council would also be the they would control the funds, and then we would ask for appropriations, and whatever we appropriate, you guys would then decide how that gets spent. So more hoops to jump through, but
Is Noble County that way?
I don't
Yeah.
think Noble County is that way. They have watersheds, they're just bigger watersheds.
Big watersheds, okay.
Would it be like capped at a certain dollar amount too? So let's say we end up with a bunch of money in the account and we don't need to collect, would we just cut it for a year or something? If we have like, let's say they have 10 million in the account and we're not using it, would we just not tax for a year or?
You could drop the rate to a really low rate, essentially.
Do you know if the county council has the authority to use that money for anything else?
I think that would be based on how we write the ordinance.
Okay.
Unless I'm mistaken in that.
Okay.
And we've got 2 million right now. How would that would go into that fund?
So that would be some more, that would also be how we write the ordinance. My recommendation would be we write the ordinance so that the funds as they are now stay as they are now. The money that is there gets used on the drain that they were originally meant for. GDI would probably get transferred over to the Cume Drain Fund, but the maintenance fund I think would stay there, and we use that money as it's needed on that drain.
And not have to ask for that to be appropriated.
That would not need to be, yeah.
Okay, I think we need a lot of discussion on that, rule one way or the other, so let's go ahead and it's past 9:05, so we'll start on this first hearing on the 619-00B SCHRADER E-Drain. The current assessment is $15 an acre and a $50 minimum, which would put it at $4,843.77 annually. The proposed assessment would be $40 per acre, $200 minimum, and that would increase it to $13,919.72 annually. All landowners have been notified on April 25th. No notices were returned. There were 3 phone calls and walk-ins for further information. We did receive 2 written objections that have been included as your packet, and it contains 300 acres, 32 assessments, 19 minimums, and the current drain fund is $6,688.25. So I guess I'll start with Max and just kind of give us a feeling for the tile and what needs to be done on it.
No, this would be our last phase of the tile, so we just have, I think another 1,650 foot at 24 inch. We just want to do the last phase of the tile, get it completed, maybe collect a year after, just so we have some money in to do repairs if something comes up, and then stop collecting on it, and
Okay.
we'd have a replaced good tile.
Okay. Any comments from the board currently?
You got an estimate on what it costs to?
Yes, estimated cost of $42,000. If it is increased, the work could begin in approximately 2.5 years.
Okay. Okay. I'll open this one up for public comment. Anybody that's here on the SCHRADER E-Drain, whether it's in favor or against, if you want to approach the microphone and say your name and address, please, if you would, for the record.
I'd like to comment on Brad's proposal.
Sure, come on up. Is it something that,
This public hearing, I feel like, is for this specific drain, and so.
Are you asking about for the specific drain or what Brad
A
mentioned
little
earlier?
bit of both.
Okay.
okay, that's fine.
I- What you're proposing here is unfair, because all of a sudden, we've got, in my case, $1,300 bill that we can't, just can't pull out of the sky. What Brad brought up is much more fair, because it spreads it out instead of just a shock all of a sudden. So, we prepare for our taxes year by year by year, now all of a sudden they get doubled. So it's just an unjust situation. The drain does need to be made, I do agree with that. It's just the way it's proposed. Thank you.
Sir, could you state your name really quick? Just
Sorry,
so-
Sam Hall, I live on 400 South.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else commenting on the SCHRADER drain? Any further discussion from the board, or?
How long ago was the bottom half replaced?
Yeah, it looks like
Couple
it
years ago.
started in 21. There was
Yeah.
1,600 foot up to 24 inch. I mean, with it, collecting $4,800 a year, we can only go 4 times that, so we would, we're short on the 42,000.
Take 10 years to get it ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, the upper end has been waiting. There's suck holes, there's trees that need to be cleared, and, I'm just going as what they were requesting, so.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the $40 an acre, $200 minimum on the 619000P SCHRADER drain, SCHRADER E.
Second that.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we increase the assessment on the SCHRADER E drain to the $40 per acre and a $200 per minute, or $200 minimum as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain?
Motion passes. Okay, we're past 9:10 for the next hearing on the GEARIN C drain, number 17. Looks like the current assessment is $1.34 per acre and a $5 minimum, which would collect $695.54 annually. The proposed assessment is $40 per acre and $200 minimum, which would put it at $21,574.04 annually. All landowners were notified on April 29th. None of them were returned undeliverable. 3 walk-in inquiries, 1 written objection, and has 480 acres, 28 assessments, and 16 minimums. And the current fund is $4,835.81. So what do you got on that one, Max?
In the red.
Oh, it's in the red? Yeah, I missed that.
54.
Yep, okay.
What's the estimate on that?
So, right now on this one, we had, I brought to you guys, we had some suck holes and some repairs that needed to be done on it. We were already in the red, $5,000, $40-some $100. So you guys approved that we could go ahead and get those taken care of and just go in the red further. So it collects $695 a year right now. So I believe at this rate, we're still gonna be in the red for 10 years. If something comes up, we have no money to do anything. So there's not, per se, we don't have any other work orders on it. There's not anything saying that we're gonna do a complete tile replacement. So at this point, what would happen was, if we did collect that, we would get out of the red and we would have $14,000–15,000 in there for any repairs, so then we stop collecting. And then if we do have to do something, we're already set up for moving forward. Or we could, we could look at possibly a less assessment, but about time we do that, we've already got into that case. Something comes up next year and now it's gonna take forever to collect again. So, kind of just, you know, so we have the money, get us out of the red and future problems. It is an older tile.
Is there anybody from the public that's here to comment on the, on this drain?
Richard Carter, my son really owns the property, I don't know if that goes through. But that's been in the family for, well, since Dad bought it in 1940. But anyway, I've helped farm on that thing for 70 years, so but there's been very little collections on it. And I'm not objecting to that it needs collected, but I think we should go less than the $40. I think that the maintenance on, there's only been 2 that I know of on that since in that 70 years on my property. And the last one, the repair, was because the repair job before that was not done quite right. And so I think if we go half that, you still have plenty of money to maintain that ditch. The other problem on there that got it really into the red was over on across the road there, and they planted trees next to the ditch, and then they ended up plugging up the ditch, and so they had to redo that, and that was pretty costly. And so the lower end was all redone in the 1990s with private funds, so it's pretty good shape. And like I said, that's the only time that I can remember of all the years we farmed out of ever having any problems on our property. And like I said, it needs raised because of that present says don't pay nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary to go that high.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dick.
And we had just thought on that one, just to put it at that, and then if we had any comments, we could go from there.
Okay. Any further comment on that tile? I guess I will say that Dick's time on the drainage board and his experience with that tile, I trust his opinion of it. So I guess when you guys are making your motion, take that into consideration.
So the advertised rate is the maximum, and we could approve anything
You can
between
take
the
it below
current rate
that,
and the, that's what I thought.
So if we say we did half of that, or whatever we did, half would get us out of the red in one collection, and there is no current work that needs done.
Correct. So yeah, we would collect probably half of that, so 10,000 a year. So,
For how many years you think, you know?
Just
well,
first
we
year
will get us
would
out
just
of red.
collect this next year and
Right.
be done until we have any orders turned in. Unless we just had small repairs, then we can go get those taken care of, and we still don't have to collect until, you know, we don't need to have, I don't think, $5,000, anything over that if we're not doing anything.
So if we go to $20 an acre, we collect 10,000. And we would just do that for a year and then go back to what it was or what it is now.
What's your wishes, Brad?
No, it would stay, it would still stay that, we just want to
Yeah,
collect on
it'd
it.
still stay at that amount. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 and 100.
Yep.
I'll move to increase the assessment on the GEARIN C number 17205-017B from the current rate to $20 per acre with $100 minimum.
Second
It's
that.
been moved and seconded that we drop the advertised rate to $20 per acre and $100 minimum, excuse me. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dick.
Okay, we're past the time for the next hearing, so we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the 433-000B Mars A drain. Current assessment is 54 cents per acre and a $5 minimum, collecting $95.05 annually. Proposed assessment is $40 per acre and $200 minimum, excuse me, and that'll put it at $5,394.72 annually. All landowners were notified on April 29th. None were returned undeliverable. One walk-in inquiry and one written notice from, looks like Alan and Lisa Norton, that was in your packet. The watershed contains 108 acres with 14 assessments and 9 minimums, and the current drain fund sits at $0. And Max, got anything on that?
I was called out about requesting it to be replaced. It goes through, it starts in an open ditch, it goes through a field, then goes in through the woods. There was nothing in there, no money in there, so I couldn't really do anything. So I believe the farmer was Dennis Wolf. They were looking into clearing a section of it, they had talks of owner funding. I don't believe we still have a packet back in.
Nope, we've not received anything yet.
So either way, if we do run back through that woods, we're gonna have to put it on a spray program. You can't get it wide enough through there. There's hills on both sides. So once again, collecting $95 a year is just, we can't, there's never ever anything, can't afford to repair a hole, so.
And there is needed work right now? Or-
Yes, it may be owner funded, it may be farmers helping out on it. We're not clear, it's kind of been all over the place on this one. So we thought we'd just go ahead and get it raised and go from there.
Okay. Anybody here from the public on the Mars A drain?
So it crosses, you think?
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
Is this the same kind of situation as the previous one, right? As far as we increase it, we don't have to go clear to the maximum advertised rate?
Yes, that's true. But at this point, this one only will collect $5,300 at 40 and 200.
Oh.
So it's a smaller watershed, so.
Yeah, it's not very big, but,
By the time you got your moving costs and things like that.
and like I said, if they do owner fund that spot, we'll collect a year or whatever, and we will have to, there's gonna be problems under 5 at some point in time.
This is the one that Wolves had inquired about, and they
Yes.
said they might, yeah, okay.
So they cleared through some of the woods. They did have Miller Sewer and Drain come out, and they did make it under 5. They had troubles. The water did drain, but it's slow, and it didn't rush out by no means. It's either more roots or it's collapsed under 5. So something's gonna have to happen here in the future. Because if it doesn't drain, then the side Wolfs are farming is just
Gonna be a flood.
a few different lakes.
Gotcha.
I move we raise the rate to $40 and $200 minimum on drain 43300B, RA.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we raise the assessment to the advertised amount on the Mars A drain to $40 and $200 minimum. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Hey Jenny, back on the previous one, the lady that wrote a letter asked will you call her, or should one of us call her, or?
Which
Is it
one?
an hour wait, just so please let me know the decision?
Yeah, if her phone number's on there, but I always send out a finding an order
Oh, yeah, she did
paper
leave her phone
to
number.
everyone so that they know what was approved.
Oh, you do that anyway?
Yep.
Hopefully she's happy that we ain't going a full mile.
Okay, we're through the public hearings. Some let and bid jobs now.
So, the last meeting, we had the GOBLE E15, which we were replacing 2,000 feet. We had a low winning labor bid of Warner Excavating at $6,000. So you guys discussed, make sure I called them, talked to them. I called, I talked, we went over everything. I explained a little more even that he didn't ask, and he had said that no problems. They can do it for that, and I don't have anything saying that they can't. it's just, you know, extremely low bid. I
I forget,
Well,
what
he's
was the
still-
next closest bid?
It was like 14 something.
Well, he's still responsible for making it right if he is, if he doesn't, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like I said,
I think the next
they
bid
got
was
out and decided they didn't wanna do anymore.
Yeah, the next bid on that particular drain was 14,200.
I watched them, they dipped the top into Hill River
Correct.
Yeller now.
Yep.
Did a heck of a job on that.
Yeah, I went out and looked at that and talked to them out there when they were on that, and I talked to the guy from Allen County, and he said he had nothing but good things to say about them.
Oh, good.
They had a long reach and
Yeah,
did
yeah, it looks
Best
great.
I'd
It
seen.
went back, they finished it up, it looks good, so. I don't,
I'm satisfied.
okay.
So was that approved at the last meeting or what was it?
I think
Pipe
you
and
guys
the
have to
backfill
approve.
was, but not the labor. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, everything else was approved, the pipe and the backfill with the labor needs approved.
Well, I'll entertain a motion on the labor since we have reviewed that they're familiar with what needs done and are capable of it.
I move to award the labor bid to Warner Excavating for a cost of $6,000.
Second.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded that we award the labor bid to Warner Excavating on the 216-015B GOBLE E drain. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're gonna move on to the GLICK E drain now.
It's me?
Yeah, I like,
Okay.
or you tell me if you want it to be.
I don't care. Okay, so, the GLICK E drain and the HOWENSTINE, we're gonna have 1,000 foot of 24 inch, 1,000 foot of 15 inch. The backfill came in the lowest at Brad Hall at 20.25 a ton. No problems there.
Yep.
We have to do these individually.
Yeah, we do. Just we can review
Okay.
them if you want to review them all. and we'll-
And then on the pipe, Fratco came in with the lowest bid on that one. No problems there. And then on the labor, Pancop won that at 10,150. I kind of did the same thing on that one. I called out and reached out to Pancops to make sure they were aware of what they were getting into. And they said, no problem, they'll take care of it. So,
He's probably gonna wheel it in instead of using an excavator.
Probably be
Go a
quicker.
lot quicker.
Yeah.
he didn't say, but he just said, no problem.
Okay. Well, we've got to approve these one at a time for the winning bid, so we'll just start at the top with the labor bid.
I move that we give the winning labor bid to Pancop Drainage for $10,150 on the GLICK E.
Or a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we award the labor bid to Pancop Drainage for $10,150 on the GLICK E drain, Howenstein. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Labor bid is approved. Okay, we'll move on to the pipe for Fratco. Is there a motion on that?
I move to approve the winning bid for Fratco of $20,964.82 on the GLICK E drain. Howenstein.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we award the pipe to Fratco at $20,964.82. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those that are opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to the backfill for Brad Hall Trucking.
Move to award the backfill bid on the GLICK E HOWENSTINE W 215-000B/289-00B to Brad Hall Trucking for limestone, $20.25 a ton.
Second.
It's been probably moved and seconded that we award the backfill bid to Brad Hall Trucking for the GLICK E. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes on that as well. believe that's all the left jobs that we have to do. Can move on to other business.
So, this is something that's come up recently, and we just wanted to get it in front of the board and have a discussion about it. And that it's something that we couldn't find that's happened really in the past, and so I want to bring it up now. And that's when a member of the drainage board goes out and does work on the drain, and then asks for compensation. So normally, if outside of drainage board member or not, we usually allow people to do work on their own property, and if they work with us beforehand, do it to our specs, they can turn in, compensation for that. We have run into issues in the past with letting people work off of their property, even on the drain, obviously, if it gets up to a certain amount, we would probably want to look at it as more of a let job. And so, those are, I guess, the two kind of things at hand. And we just want to make sure that you guys didn't see some sort of conflict with one of you guys working on something and then asking for compensation. And also wanted to touch upon the authority of the drainage board members working on the drain on other people's property versus the surveyor, the surveyor and their office. So those are the two things. Matt, do you have anything you wanted to?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I think that there are two separate issues. I mean, if I were on the drainage board and I've got a suck hole and I fix it, and then that's one thing. And the other part of it, I guess, is if I go to Dave's property and fix a suck hole and then turn it in. And so, I think the first thing was probably done before, probably. I don't remember that maybe happening. The second one is, and then an approval process. Like, ultimately if I were to do that, obviously I don't have a vote, but, I wouldn't be able to vote on it, obviously, to approve it. It should probably come in front of the board and have it approved so that there wasn't an implication of some conflict, I suppose.
But we're not against members of the board doing work and getting paid for it. We just don't want them. We just want to make sure that we're transparent about it and that we don't look like we're doing any shady business.
So I think that's it. I just need some direction on how to go about it so that the staff really knows how to deal with it.
So if they were on the list of approved contractors, would that make a difference? Or, I mean, you what?
I don't think we get special treatments, I guess is what I would say. So whatever everybody else gets, I think that's, whatever protocol is, I think it needs to go through that. That's my vote.
I think you're right, Seth. I think that's a fair.
Yeah, so I mean.
My thought then is that I don't think you go do the job. We had trouble before, I think, with Danny Wolf.
Yeah.
Did the job and then turned the bill in afterwards, and we didn't approve it.
Yeah, right.
I think if they're gonna turn a bill in, it needs to be approved by you before they do the project.
Just like everybody else,
Just like everybody else.
let us know, we're working on it,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I think on Danny, I think we turned him down on a project that he
Maybe.
turned in afterwards, and we said we got a line here, and we're not gonna cross it. And,
Okay.
Yep.
we kind of used him as an example on the project.
Yes.
But I think that's my only thing. Make sure it's goes through the proper channels and isn't done, and then hey, this is what we did.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Be upfront about it.
yeah, be up front.
Okay.
I guess I can see two sides of that, because like I just had a county tile that I fixed the other day on our property, which I never turn in bills or anything, but I could see compensating for the actual tile or something like that where, we say, well, we'll pay for the tile if you want to fix the suck hole yourself, not your time. I don't know how we compensate for things like that, but
We've done that quite a bit.
Yeah, we do both. We will, you know, if you want in, you know, either pre-approval or if it's not pre-approved, I believe it's $500.
Right.
But anymore, we try everybody. You know, if a landowner comes in, he fixed the suck hole and he says, hey, it was out here, but I already fixed it. You know, I got to it. Will you pay for the pipe and labor or whatever? And yeah, as long as it's nothing that's been shady before, then yeah, we're fine with it. So I think that's probably why it's at a minimum or a maximum of $500 to make sure. So, but yeah, pre-approval. You know, Mike Heinen had called me about one. I went out and looked at it. He said, hey, can I fix this? You know, and I said sure. So it was on his property.
I'm like Seth. When we leave the boardroom, we're just another operator. We're not.
Right.
We're not necessarily a board. We don't have any power as a board member.
Right. Okay.
When we're out of here.
Okay.
That's kind of how it needs to
Treat us the same.
treat us the same.
yeah, I agree with the 500 though, because moving costs is probably 500 pretty
Yeah,
much
if
anyway.
somebody's
so.
there, their excavator's already there to fix it.
Yeah.
It works out.
Yep. Okay. We good on the, any more other business that we need to go through?
Maybe circling back to what Brad brought up in the beginning,
Okay.
how would you guys like to dig into that, if at all, I guess? It really, Brad probably needs to have a sit down with the commissioners, because it has to be you guys' recommendation. And if it doesn't clear that hurdle, it doesn't matter, but, you know, there's a lot of benefits to it, but there's also, you know, turning some control over to council, may make some of you nervous, maybe not, I don't know, you know, those positions tend to change a lot, whereas for the most part, you guys, about every 5 years we get a new member, right? So, you know, and you're dealing, I mean, you guys have an understanding of what this drainage board is all about and the jobs and responsibilities, whereas council may not have that same understanding. And so there's a lot of pros and cons to it. I just think, you know, give Brad and Jenny some direction after you guys think about it, about how, because I don't want to, if you're like, we're not doing that, then he's going to spend a bunch of time figuring out the monetary parts, right?
I mean, this is the first time I've heard about it, so I mean, this is,
Yeah.
my initial impression is that, you know, the squeaky wheel might get the grease and take the money quick, and then, you know, I mean, I like that the drains all have their fund, and if you want, if this drain needs fixed, you're putting your money into it. Now, I mean, if there's a slush fund there, everybody's gonna run in and say, this is, you know, I need this work done, and
Well, that's
they're gonna
been-
get their work
That's
done.
been tried before.
Yeah, so, I
This
mean,
is the- yeah.
I mean, that's just my initial opinion, and I mean, you guys can
That's
say,
my
you
opinion
guys
too.
can
I
say
don't
what you
think,
think, but.
we need to control that money, not somebody else.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think we could write it that you guys have control of how the money gets spent. But we would just have to appropriate, yep. So every year it'd be like, oh, we project that next year we're going to have $1 million of drain work. We'd like to appropriate $1 million. And then you have that $1 million to allocate how you see fit. And, you know, it would be based on drain applications submitted and other work that we see them done. We also might have the freedom to use that money for, you know, other things besides direct maintenance to the drain, if it turns out to be beneficial, like equipment or.
I assume they have it in writing at Elkhart.
Yeah.
Could we get a copy of that to
read
kind
through
of?
that, yeah.
I can see if I can find their cume drain ordinance, yeah.
Yeah.
They also have they're a county-wide MS4, so they have a separate stormwater usage fee, which is a whole different story. It's completely different from the drainage board. It has its own board, but you can use it on any sort of storm drainage, including legal drains. So, whole nother element to it. But we would just be doing the cume drain until we're made an MS4, which may happen. We don't control that, the state controls that.
The other, I'm sure, complaint you would get if you shifted to that model is, you know, somebody who paid a bunch of money the last 2 or 3 years to get their drain fixed, and now all of a sudden it's spread out. You know, it's been a while, but I remember, you know, Traybirds did that huge project, you know, 3 or 4 years ago. 6 figures, high 6 figures, and they paid for the whole thing. Like, you know, I'm not sure they would complain, but you know, I mean, I could see some people like that having an issue about it, but the alternative is, and you could get, if you needed to get something done, you could get it.
Yeah.
You'd just be getting stuff done, which is,
Instead of waiting 4 or 5 years.
yeah, there's a real,
Raising assessments
yeah,
every meeting.
you just have the money, if, you know,
But-
Max gives you a list of priorities, like these are the ones we gotta do this year, and you just do them. There's some real value in that too,
Yeah.
so I don't know what the right answer is. There's pros and cons, definitely.
We could even look into some hybrid version where we do a cume drain at the lowest assessment, and that's kind of a slush fund or kind of emergency fund, kind of like GDI, but it gets replenished instead of being burned through. And then we have our regular drain assessment for maintenance of those drains. Just throwing stuff out there. It probably is going to take a lot of discussion and thought by everybody.
Can you put some dollar figures to it too? I know it's a percentage, but I mean, we can talk a little bit on dollar figures too, like what it would actually mean per acre, or you know, things like that. That I know it depends on. And not today. I mean, just mean, you know, next meeting or
Well, we
something.
can do a quick, like I've done this before. So like with the, you know, a piece of property with a house on it that's the wrong app. You know, assessed at $500,000. So you're looking at 5,000 hundreds of dollars times 5 cents is $250 assessment total. That doesn't take into account acreage. You know, that could be a trailer with, you know, several acres, or it could be a small parcel with a nice house.
So it would get away from the minimum acreage model. So, you know, one of the benefits, I guess, of the way we do it now is it punishes the impervious, you know, the roofs, asphalt driveways. They pay a higher per acre fee because their water doesn't get away. It goes, you know, flows fast. And so that would probably change some things too.
In the same way, though, that stuff is assessed higher, I think.
You
than-
can't create tiers or.
Well, it's just, you know, if there's more roof and more structure, the assessor will give that a higher assessed value.
So it can be captured via the value as opposed to, yeah, I guess that's true.
Another disadvantage is we do not have the authority to tax people in city or town borders with this tax. So any drains that go through towns and cities, we would have to work with the town and city to kind of get their share of the fund.
Sure.
Which we kind of do with Columbia City now. We tell them how much money we need, and they give it from their general stormwater fund. We don't actually tax their constituents directly.
Okay. I guess be a lot of discussion in the future on it.
We can maybe put it on an agenda in the future as a very last thing, so that everybody else can, you know, we can take care of business and then have a discussion.
That's fine. Yeah, and like
One
I
of us
said,
will try to get the actual ordinance.
Yeah,
and
it'll be
I'll
good to
come
read
this
through.
information.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, I do have something else that's not on the agenda. I apologize. I put it together after Jenny sent out the packet. But I did kind of look into the tile spray a little bit more. The yellow lines on here, so I've turned off all the other drains so we can see this better, but the yellow lines are all the areas they've identified as could need spray. It is a total of currently 19 segments with, 13,770 feet of tile. 10 of those 19 segments have access issues, and I labeled it as an access issue if you couldn't pull into the specific segment from either an open drain or a road. So if you had to go through a field or if you had to go through your yard, I put that as an access issue. So that is a hurdle we'll have to look into. Additionally, we didn't have the opportunity to talk with Chad Baker with right-of-way management to kind of get more specifics on what the differences in the herbicide is and any differences on how it would be applied. But I think it's different enough that they couldn't, this is something we'd have to look into, is if we can just tack these areas onto the open drain package, just have a different set of specifications for them. We bid them out with the same package, and if you get that quadrant for your ditch spray, you also have that quadrant's tile sprays. That could be one way of doing it, or it might be more beneficial if we put out the tile spray as a separate package, and then that way it's a whole different, kind of tooling and spray. We also, if we have enough access issues that we want to look into aerial application, that would probably need to be a separate bid package, because people who are doing it by wheeled rig are not going to be the same people doing it by drone, unless Chad happened to get some drones here in the past year or two. But that's another thing.
I'm assuming most of what he has is like a floater type wheel. He doesn't have anything with narrow tires, like a sprayer, like a crop sprayer that he could get back there with. That'd be minimal damage to a crop, that
Right.
we could still access it. I don't know, you might ask him if he has anything like that,
Sure.
if we did drive through a crop, it'd be just like a sprayer
I
instead
think
of.
everything he has, at least
Floater tires.
as of right now,
That's what
are
I've
floater
seen.
tires.
That's what I've seen too.
When he does it, he may just be able to inject that herbicide to kill, on top of the tiles.
Okay.
But if we didn't do it as a separate time, he's gonna be starting to spray here in probably a month or so maybe. So at that point, everybody's crops are coming up.
Yep.
So there, as Brad said, to have no access.
Yep.
So either we'd have to do it, before planting season, or and I'm not sure. We haven't been able to get a hold of him and really go through all that.
But a lot of it has to have leaves on it and be actively growing.
Yeah. So
to
about the
kill.
same time
Yeah.
they're wanting to plant.
He also said though he could change the spray a little bit so that it infiltrates the dirt more and
Okay.
actually gets to the roots, even if there's not a plant actively growing there.
Sure.
So
That's cool.
another thing to consider is a no spray, an opt out basically. If someone says, I will maintain this stretch of tile.
That's a headache for
Yeah.
Max, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't agree with
Then
that,
they
because we have a
move
lot of
and-
people
yeah.
that do that and don't
We have-
maintain, so.
Right.
We have a lot of that trouble.
And even if stuff that is mowed, the stuff is still growing.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have some stuff that's even been mowed well that's still getting into the tiles, and little trees are just heading right down, and
Yep.
we've had a lot of roots this spring.
Okay.
I think there'll be a lot more than what you're showing that needs to be on the
Oh,
list.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah, these are just as the ones that we work on or come to. I don't know that we've really searched the whole map, but
We mow a stretch over an 18-inch tile that we thought we were doing a good job of keeping it back, and it was too close to the trees. And we're pulling roots out at every 20 feet at every joint it's full.
So I'll make sure Jenny can look at this layer, and then if you guys have additional tiles that you want to make sure is on there, we can get that added in.
Okay.
I don't know, it's definitely gonna not be this year, I wouldn't think, but next year we're scheduled for a new contract, so maybe we just aim to include it in next year's contract for the spray. That is if it makes sense and is feasible to put it on the same contract.
I mean,
Really wanted to have a chance to talk to Chad Baker of Right-of-Way Management.
The ones that we can access, I'm all for. I would assume that the board similar
He
to
does a
that.
good job.
Yeah,
what I've
yeah.
seen.
He keeps them clean. Just figuring out access or what we could do with the other ones is the big thing. So. Okay. Any other business? Assume the engineer's report. I think we're good there. Yep, that's it.
That was it?
And field work. Anything, Max? You want to bring? James?
Oh, okay, yeah.
No,
I have an
just-
alibi.
keeping at it.
Okay.
Doing a good job.
Things come up every.
I have an alibi that Jenny reminded me of. The Rouse Straw drain that we worked on last year. I don't remember if Mike was at the RDC meeting or not, but I noticed a mistake I made in delineating the watersheds for that drain. And we should have started a bigger drain sooner than we did. This is brought up with the racetrack gas station that is going in at that corner. I can pull it up if we have more questions, but so they are, actually, the outlet from their pond is gonna be bigger than our county drain. So that's a complication. And then they're gonna install 24-inch tile all the way along their property, and then they're gonna neck down into our 15-inch tile. Figured out we need about 220-ish feet of 24-inch tile to connect to where our 24-inch tile picks up. And which I think I roughed out with his cheat sheet at about $5,000. RDC has agreed that it fits within the scope of our original agreement, and that we were under budget with the project, and so we'll go ahead and do that. They did ask us to look into, instead of replacing the brand new 15-inch pipe with a 24-inch pipe, if we can install a parallel equivalent to bring up the total area. So we'll look into that, even though having one pipe is always cleaner and easier.
Well, I had talked to Jerry Pettigrew that did that job, and he said if I'm in the same area, it was deeper through there, and he said with that ground already disturbed and all the sugar sand and plus all the backfill we put in, he thinks just because he was out there that we would be better off to run another one beside it.
Okay.
Like, cause it was a mess out there at certain points. And now you have all that loose
Caving in and everything.
backfill.
Yeah.
It really may, so we can look into that, maybe put in another one. It might be simpler, so.
That's just more of an update since RDC
Yeah.
has agreed that they'll pay for it.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
I'll open it up if anybody else had anything they want to discuss before we close the meeting. Anybody in the audience want to discuss
I
anything?
had a question on this. I didn't know whether I missed it when Dick was up there talking. It wasn't on this, was it? What you was referring to with him?
Come on up, Todd, if you want to state your name and just what you got questions of.
Well, my name's Todd Auer, and I'm not sure whether this would be a conflict of interest with Seth being on the board here since he farms this ground, but what I've got here was for a bill, or what, this is not a bill, but what the cost would be on doing some work on in this drain. And the thing I was concerned about was on the one farm I've got, the Brady Wright wanted to come in and just take and redo the whole thing and not go through the procedure here with the drainage board. And I don't know where I'm at on this right now.
Okay.
So,
Was that a notice for a hearing? Is that what that?
yeah.
Okay.
We're here.
Did you send out a hearing?
No, I think that one was on the.
Can I see your
Yeah,
paper there?
let Jenny look at it.
We talked about this one, I think. See which one it is.
On the GEARIN 17. So this is the one that had a suck hole that was fixed here recently, but it's very much in the red. So
That's,
Who fixed it? Oh, this was what they did on Richard Kyle.
Yes.
yep, yeah.
On the south side of the road.
So he's probably talking about,
Brady probably talked to you about owner funding that tile.
which
instead
was
of-
the other one?
Yeah.
The other one that he was on is,
Which I had talked to Brady after you came in, And he was just, I think he was just letting you know that they were requesting to raise the assessment. So he said he wanted to go through and get the assessment raised, and then the board take care of,
What needs to be done?
yeah, go ahead and start in a whole new tile project. So what it would do, it would raise the assessment, and then we would collect a couple years, get so much done, collect a couple more years. Just do it in phases like all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Is what, yeah, I talked to him shortly after you came in, and I wanted to make sure if he was trying to own or fund something, or if we were gonna go through the
Well,
board.
that's what he kind of felt, I felt like he
Okay.
wanted to do with us. It was
Yeah.
like pick up.
And I don't know how exactly what happened with you guys' story, but he just said he knew what you were talking about, and he just wanted to let you know about raising the assessment, so.
Well, I
So,
can
yeah, we're not
understand.
gonna do anything, out of line there.
So, okay.
Okay. All right, well, anything else needs to come before the board? All right, meeting adjourned. Yes, sir.